Yeshua Meir, the producer, has been asking me for weeks already to talk about the mitzvah of Yishuv Eretz Yisrael al pi Rabbeinu Yoel. Rabbeinu Yoel is the Satmar Rov. Now, why do I call him Rabbeinu Yoel and everybody else calls him the Satmar Rov? State Chuvas Bedover. One thing is that I think in Hungary before the war they did call him Rabbeinu Yoel. That was what they called him. Second of all, nowadays that everything is so politicized and everybody thinks right away in terms of parties and groups. So if you say the Satmar Rov, so right away people start thinking, oh, the one that didn't like Eretz Yisrael, which is not true. But that's what comes to mind, like somebody else from a different group. I don't want to give that feeling, especially I'm not his representative. He's not my rebbe. I don't mean that in a negative way, he's not my rebbe. He's just not my rebbe because I grew up someplace else. But he was from the Gedolei Yisrael, like I once was married in this. And Yeshua Meir has been asking me to talk about his shita about Yishuv Eretz Yisrael.
And the Shaykh too.
In Darkeinu Lisakish Klal, we go with the derech of the Breslover Rebbe, not to be an action. So yes, this is what I'm going to do. And I hope this talk will inspire the people in whatever way it can inspire them. So this is what we're going to say. You wanted to say something?
In particular, the Indian is the Shaykh the Chilunim. That was the Likud. To answer Rabbi Schneider's.
Well, obviously, I'm talking what Yeshua Meir wants me to
Good, but you
talk.
didn't tell our viewers.
Soon.
Okay.
So, everybody knows the shita of the Ramban is that there's a mitzvah of Yishuv Eretz Yisrael. There are different shitas, and in the Sefer of El Moshe that we're talking about, he brings different shitas of Rishonim. Some don't count it as a mitzvah. And the Ramban holds it's a mitzvah.
Who doesn't count it?
Rashi, according to him, it's Rashi and the Rambam.
And Tosfos, of course.
Yeah, and Tosfos for a different reason. The Ramban holds it's a mitzvah. Now, he brings over here in the Vayoel Moshe different sform that talk about the greatness of Yishuv Eretz Yisrael, of living in Eretz Yisrael. And all those who talked about it, they all made sure to add in the end of their talk, but not for those that are not going to keep Torah and mitzvahs.
By the way, the Ramban also says that. I don't know if Rabbeinu Yoel brings it in the darush al Rosh Hashana.
No, he doesn't bring it. Interesting, he brings everything. Maybe
It's
it
interesting
wasn't put out in his time, maybe. It's a new sefer, it's a new ksav yet.
Oh.
I don't know, but anyway, and everybody who ever talked about said this. There's a sefer Kolbo. The Kolbos are reaching the Beis Yosef, brings him all the time. Kolbo brings that Jewish Maharam, how great it is to live in Eretz Yisrael. And Bilvad, he says, you should be parush v'nisa mikol ovon. You can't call mitzvahs. And if not, you're like a murderer. You're in the king's palace and you're doing aveirus. Then you can't go there. So it says this is the Kolbos Arishan. Sefer Charedim, which is from the early Achronim, the time of the Beis Yosef, he's talking about the greatness of living in Eretz Yisrael. And then he says, but those that come to Eretz Yisrael and they don't remember they're in the palace of the king. And they make parties, and Sudas Mereus, he calls it. You can't, like that, you can't come to Eretz Yisrael like that. The Shalom talks about the greatness of Yishuv Eretz Yisrael. And then he says the same thing, that somebody that lives in Eretz Yisrael and he's not Mekayim Torah, he's a Poshea, he says.
Right, and he lives b'chutz la'aretz, lo Mekayim Torah is a Poshea.
Yeah, but even worse, if he
Yeah.
lives in Eretz Yisrael. And there was a Maisa in Sfas that the Sefer Charedim brings. That somebody was Baal Ishto Shalok Kedarka. The Chachmei Tzvas, the Beis Yosef, and a few other of them, they were Menadim and they were Megarishim from Eretz Yisrael. You hear them? I said. So it was Baal Ishto Shalok Kedarka. Well, could be did it more than once. And the wife came and she told the Rabban, and he says, the Lashon is Nidu v'Sov shegirshu me'eretz Yisrael. See the greatness of the people of those days. Somebody didn't know. Nowadays, what they talk about nowadays, 10 times worse. This person did a better. Not everybody holds it. Yisrael going, and still they're megarishim from Eretz Yisrael. All this you have to understand. All these Gedolei Olam said this. Whoever heard of such a thing, that a rosh, you tell them, no, don't do mitzvahs. I mean, we know. You're gonna say if somebody's a rosh, you shouldn't put on film.
What about a Mahal Shabbos going up to Duchen? I believe they talk about that.
Can't answer all the questions now. We're talking about Yishuv.
Oh, okay. Well, you asked for where else do you see this? So I thought I would answer.
Wait. By the way, I just remembered that the Rabbeinu Yoel himself brings that he brings a Rambam. Where is it? The Rambam Taka says, but first that a rosh can be Ola L'Duchen, and the Rambam explains that it's not him that's giving the bracha, it's Hashem is giving the bracha. And the Rambam adds, just because he's a rosh, he shouldn't do the mitzvah of duchen. That's what you meant. You meant the Rambam. I'm sure you meant the Rambam. Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't remember. But, so Yitaka brings that Rambam. It's a very schwer thing. Now, okay. Now, why is it like that? That's what he explained. Al Kaplan, one thing is for sure. If you want to know Aloch L'maisa, that I can already tell you before we get to the end of the darush. This, according to what all these farms say, definitely usher to convince a Bal Aveira to go live in Eretz Yisrael. Somebody convinces, let's say, I don't know, Machal Shabbos for sure, but even smaller Averas than that. Somebody doesn't keep Taras and Mishpach, doesn't keep Kashrus, or other things, to convince him to come to Eretz Yisrael is wrong. It's neged the Torah. All the Gedolei Olam said not to go to Eretz Yisrael if you're not B'Shleimus. And these Gedolim that he quotes over here, they're not talking about Poshim, about Chilonim. They're talking about people who are not medactic, not medactic. And still they said not to go to Eretz Yisrael, these people. Now, there's a Chuvas Me'il Tzedakah, which he was a Kadmon, and some Sofer brings him.
Not really, a coin from Istanbul.
Oh, very good, very good.
Oh, I wasn't such a Kadmon.
And the Sam Sofer brings him. You mean you're arguing with me how Kadmon you have to be called Kadmon? Okay, leave it. So Sam Sofer brings him in Even Hazar Siman Kuf Lamed Beis, that he says there's definitely a big mitzvah to go to Eretz Yisrael, but only if you have over there Parnasa Berevach. Berevach, he says. And look what he says. If you don't have Parnasa, the Anius is Mavir the Adam al Datov al Das Kono. It's a Gemara in Eruvin, the beginning of the 4th parak. Anius can drive a person crazy, the Gemara says. You can't go to Eretz Yisrael if you're going to have to live there by Anius. Now that's just all those nowadays that they say you have to come to Israel, you have to come to Israel. But how are you going to find Parnasa in Eretz Yisrael? There's jobs for everybody. Even those that are here, there aren't jobs for everybody. And if there are jobs, it's enough to live berevach, parnasa berevach, he says. And what does he say? Why? Because if you don't have parnasa berevach, it's a big shash that the children will go out letarbus roh. If we don't have parnasa, and that's how you could talk about that separately. But
That's Rabbeinu Yoel or the Mil
The Mil
Tzedakah?
Tzedakah says that. And he says, who says that children could be sovachai? Okay, says that children could live a difficult life, a hard life. So you shouldn't go, he says, the Mil Tzedakah. And the Chassam Sofer brings him. The Chassam Sofer says that this is Mosuk Lecheich, the words of the Mil Tzedakah. It's a lashon, it's a little bit unusual, that lashon. Mosuk Lecheich, he says his words. Now, what's up shot in all this? That somebody's going to say that you're going to become, you're going to buy tefillin, so you won't have so much money left, so you shouldn't buy tefillin. Nobody ever says it. Now, Rabbeinu Yoel says a pshat, and I'm going to, if there'll be time, I want to say my pshat. He says like this. The Gemara says in Bametsiyah, this is Yodua, it's a machlokes, Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon, if we dash in time of the Kro or not. That means, if the Torah says a halacha, a mitzvah, can you go and try to explain the reason why the Torah gave this mitzvah, and based on that say halachas, change halachas in certain circumstances?
We talked about this. The Mizbeach Adamah talks about this.
Yeah?
We talked about this a couple of years ago. I think, I forget what it was. We had a big sikha about this, and you said it was crazy. That this great rabbi said that.
I think it had to do with Shemitah. Yeah, I think, I don't remember that we talked about Matimli. So,
he used the Mizbeach Adamah.
I don't know who he was. I never heard of him. I know that Rav Ovadia quotes him. So, so according to the halacha that is like Rabbi Yehuda, we don't dash in time of the Kro. You can't say the Torah said a halacha because of this and this. We'll explain why the Torah gave the halacha, and based on that, we'll say that in this case it doesn't apply. You can't do that. Reb Shimon knows you can. Of course, you have to know that only Reb Shimon can. Even though Reb Shimon says you can, it doesn't mean not us and not people bigger than us.
But today nobody holds that.
No.
Reb Shimon.
No, it's not the halacha.
So nobody holds that way, like Reb Shimon.
No, Reb Shimon is not enough. What do you mean?
But the halacha l'maisa today's poskim don't bring it.
Right.
Okay.
Says,
except the Mizbeach Adamah.
Good. We don't really remember what it was, so let's.
No, but I remember that he was the Yachid, and you in a discussion a couple of years ago. We were very meet Ragesh about this.
Good.
I forgot what it was.
Yeah, I got cooked up about it.
Yeah.
I guess I knew what I was cooking about. But the Gemara says in Bab Metzia Kuf Tesvav that if the Tama mitzvah, the reason of the mitzvah is mefurish in the pasuk, the Torah itself says the reason, gives a reason. So then you can base halachas on that. So that's why by a melech it says lo yarbe lo noshim v'lo yaser levavu. So there's a man that holds that if he knows for sure that that they're not gonna take his heart away from the Torah, so he can be marbe lo noshim. Now, we won't go into that, but that's what the Gemara says. If the Torah gives the time,
We have 1 more minute to the end of part 1.
Says Rabbeinu Yoel, by Yishuv Eretz Yisrael, the Torah said mafurish the time of Yishuv Eretz Yisrael. Now, this is where...
Oh, in Tehillim.
Oh, very good.
In Tikkun HaKlali, I think. Kuf.
The Torah said it in Tikkun HaKlali. That's a good source. Let's hear what he said. Vayitin lahem artzos goyim, v'malu mim yiroshu, ba'avor, yishmor chukah v'sorosav yintzaro.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. That's what Kuf?
Kuf, hey.
So it says that he gave them the lands of the goyim, ba'avor, yishmor chukah v'sorosav yintzaro. So it's meforish and pasek the time. So if everybody agrees that you go after the time and only if you keep Torah you have that mitzvah. So that explains. Okay. Now.